So, let's talk about the cultural differences we see in households today. Why do I'm talking about black people because we are black. Why do black people struggle with community and togetherness? We see other races sticking together and building family businesses and generational wealth while we kick our children out when they turn 18 plus to pretty much fend for themselves, not leaving them anything when the generation before us passes away and the cycle continues. Why do you guys think this is the norm and how can we fix this? So, what do you guys think? Does anybody want to take a stab at it and share first?
I think it's because the way society has been over maybe the last few decades. We've been conditioned to be separate, to do things on our own, to be independent. Um, and it's been instilled in us that that's a good thing. And that's been passed down. And so instead of us working together, we just have this separate mentality, I guess.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Does anybody else want to share before I continue? All right, let's continue. The important part is that the role each member of the community fulfills creates a sense of belonging and a supportive environment from which the entire community or tribe benefits. That's called synergy. Working together to create something greater than either of us could do alone. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 9 says, "It's better to have a partner than to go at it alone. Share the work, share the wealth, and if one falls down, the other helps. But if there's no one to help, tough." The point here is clear. We are better together. Unity is the intangible bond developed over time from consistent collaborative efforts. It is an agreement that our family will consistently work together towards a solution no matter the circumstance. It requires an indestructible will and relentless focus on progression and collaboration. It requires each member. Good morning, Marnie. I'll go back to the question since you got here once I'm done with this. It requires each member of the family to think less of themselves and more about the betterment of the team as a whole. Collaboration and togetherness requires us to listen to understand instead of listening to respond. Respect each other's opinions and feelings and be determined to work towards shared goals. This doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. I believe respectful disagreements based on our varying perspectives create a more rounded and thoroughly discussed solution. The different ideas each family member brings to the table strengthen the collaborative effort. Ultimately, togetherness is all about respect and ensuring that regardless of how frustrated we are or how crazy we think a particular idea is, we maintain the spirit of working together to achieve something great. You can't do it all alone. So before I talked about, well, I opened with um, the question of why do black people struggle with community and togetherness. We see other races sticking together and building family businesses and generational wealth while we kick our children out. This is an example. I know not every parent does this, but at 18 plus to fend for themselves, not leaving them with anything after the generation before us passes away and the cycle continues. Why is this the norm? How can we fix this? Good morning, Dakara. So, Marnie, did you want to kind of take a stab at this? Like, why do you think that we in the black community we do this when we see other generations do? I mean, I'm sorry, other races or communities kind of sticking together. Like they have like family, like some of them even live together for a long time. They have like family homes, family businesses, but we don't really see that.
because they understand community, and they understand building.
Mm-hmm.
When they're over here, they're sent over here, they're already taught where to go, what to do, what businesses to open up, and they get it. Like, you're only as strong as your legacy. You know what I'm saying? If you kick your kids out at 18, 17, 18, you got to go. 19, it doesn't make any sense because they haven't lived enough to even, like, where are they going? Like, to do what? To just get a job and work for somebody else? And no shade to nobody on the line that has a job. I get it. But when you are building generational wealth, um, usually if they leave or when they leave, usually they get some type of estate, and like they either have houses on it, they get togetherness, they get helping each other, keeping their money together. They understand that. But if they do leave, when they leave, they're purchasing. They're not renting, or they're not um and then they have their own store. You know what I mean? Or they work the family store.
Right.
So us as black people, I feel like we just are, as a culture, um
But we don't even
it's
have
just
family stories and stuff to pass down. That's part of the problem. So that's why.
that's part of the problem. Absolutely, we don't have family stores, we don't have cell phones, we don't have grocery stores, we don't have anything. We are the consumers when we are naturally created to be producers. I mean, African Americans have created everything, literally, like down to the map, the GPS that we use, everything. But somewhere along the line we lost our way, and it's like, you got to get out there, you got to go, you can't stay here, you got to go get your own place, go get you a job, and go take care of yourself. Well, the child has been up under you. I think it's a self-hate mechanism. You know what I mean? It's it's a lot of things with us as a culture. I, particularly with my children, I don't think that way. Because I feel like we are stronger together, and it's even better when my sons are older now, because
Mm-hmm.
they get it. You know what I mean? And we can build off of that and build together. Like, so.
All right, go ahead, Mom.
I just wanted to say real quick, it's hard to move forward. It's hard to start building a legacy and start changing things when you don't even know who you are and who you came from, um, or where you came from. I'm sorry. We don't even really know our history, our lineage, um, outside of what we've been told and taught, which is mostly a fabricated narrative. So I think that that's part of the problem. A lot of these other cultures, races, whatever you want to say, nationalities, they know their history. They know where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
They know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They know about their families, generations and generations prior to them. So I think to even know how to build and how to move forward, we have to even figure out who we are. Even with like the conversation that we just started, so many titles have been thrown out there. Are we black? Are we African American? Are we like we whatever label that they place on us for whatever decade, that's what we run with. Mm-hmm. We just take a narrative that we were given. And I know it's probably kind of off topic, but it is, but it ain't. Mm-hmm. We take the narrative that we're given and we just accept it. So if you just accepting somebody telling you who you are, you don't really know who you are, but then you're trying to teach the next generation who they are and where to be. That's how all of the, I'm going to say misinformation for lack of a better word, just gets passed down and things just stay confused, I think.
Yeah, I agree as well. All right. So, we did already talk about this slide before some of y'all came in. That's why I'm skipping it. I just wanted to go back to the question and give more people chances to answer that. But let's move on. We were pretty much talking about the solution is community and togetherness. So I have another set of questions, which is kind of similar as well. Um, I want everybody to be able to respond, so let's be mindful of the time as well because I want to finish this presentation today. So, I also think this kind of goes hand in hand with the question of should you have kids when you are unstable? Do you think poverty can affect a kid's upbringing and mental health? How so? And is generational wealth important? Why or why not? Now, you don't have to answer each and every question, of course, but you guys kind of get the gist of the discussion here. I would first like to say, um, well, I just want to answer them real quick. I do think that generational wealth is definitely important because in the first slide we kind of talked about most of our family members when they do pass on they literally leave the remaining family with nothing or even in debt, and then the funeral has to get covered and all this other stuff has to be paid, all these arrangements have to be made when nothing was set up from the jump. And I feel like that has become the norm as well, and it definitely should not be. um, you should always leave your kids with something or your family with something because I think you said this, mom, like if you don't have the help, you're pretty much starting over. You're starting actually steps behind, and you have to really get yourself out of a hole pretty much, and you didn't even ask to be here. So I feel like that's very selfish as well. I think Martin said that. So no, I do not think you should have kids when you are unstable. One kid, I don't even think you should have one kid if you are unstable because a kid is a job itself, and I feel like in a way that child growing up in poverty is kind of stripping them of their childhood, of the things that they could be doing because they have to be in survival mode or have a lack mindset because they don't have certain things or even basic things, honestly. So, no, I don't. And I feel like continuously having kids is just crazy. Um, because, like I said, it does ultimately affect their upbringing and mental health. I think so. Um, but I want to hear from other people as well, our younger people on this call. Go ahead, Marnie. But I do want other people to answer as well, if y'all feel comfortable. Go ahead, Marnie.
I think that the teachings from before, when people do have children young and they're not ready, it does cause an off balance with the child's life unless they have a village. Um, because you haven't, usually, if that parent hasn't exposed that child to stuff, it's like going to be a repeat of action. Like whatever somebody else's mom did to them, that's what they're going to do to their child, and that's what they're going to do to their child. But I also have heard, I also have heard when I got a brain freeze, so let me get off and let somebody get in.
Okay. Tamir, did you want to say something or add to this? Answer one of the questions? Okay. Good morning, Divine. We had went through. Oh, go ahead, Tamir.
Hello.
Yep.
Um. Yeah. More is it's real simple. You want to stay with no, you should not have kids. Get yourself financially stable first, obviously, and then figure out what type of route you want to take as far as bringing a life into the world.
Mhm.
So that's all I got to say. Y'all know the rest.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. Go ahead, Mom.
Yeah, I'll touch on a few questions real quick. Um, of course, nobody should have kids when they are unstable or financially unable to provide for their child. But I mean, life is life, and real situations happen. So 9 times out of 10, and I think in other cultures too, it's not planned. But I think that we have a harder time when ours isn't planned because where we are financially and economically, and of course the village thing. I think that even if something should happen that is unplanned, like a pregnancy or an emergency or anything for that matter, um, if you are more financially stable, of course that blow is not going to have such a large effect. And then also, a lot of us, like, I think all of this is just really tied together. If you have a village, normally the village is pooling their money together. So it's not just, oh, I'm unstable or I'm unequipped financially, because there is a team and a support system, not just, emotionally or mentally, but also financially. The family has funds, and that ties into the generational wealth part. Like, the family has been working together to build wealth. So when a new addition happens, whether that's planned or unplanned, it can be more of a celebratory experience because you're not in panic mode and you're not in survival mode, because of course, bringing a child into any stressful situation will, create long-term effects that they're going to pass down.
Yeah, I agree actually with everything you said. That definitely makes sense. Okay, so I want to kind of switch gears here and talk about, um, you know, in-home conflicts, I guess, more specific conflicts, not just financial. So we have three different types of conflicts that you probably seen in your house or other people's households. Right here, I'm talking about two different stories. You might hear Jacob's story mentioned and also Joseph's story mentioned as well. These are two different stories, two different instances, two different families in the Bible, but it just shows how, like I said before, everything is not new. Nothing is new under the sun. Things that were conflicts in the Bible, we still see them in today's society. So I wanted to touch on them briefly to get you guys kind of thinking about these things. But also, I do want to do separate Bible study lessons on the different families in the Bible as well. So I do want to touch on Joseph's story if some of you guys are not familiar with his story more specifically, and Jacob and Cain and Abel and all that. So I do want to get deep into that as well in another lesson, but I just wanted to touch on them today. So first we have sibling rivalry. The negative consequences of parental favoritism depicted in rivalry among Jacob's sons serve as a cautionary tale. It prompts reflection on the impact of parental actions on sibling relationships. Parents are reminded to treat each child with love and fairness, avoiding favoritism that can sow seeds of resentment. 2. Deception and broken trust. The deception surrounding Joseph's supposed demise unveils the destructive nature of broken trust within the family. It highlights the importance of honesty and open communication. Parents can draw from this narrative to cultivate an environment where trust is valued, fostering healthier family dynamics. And 3. The consequences of secrecy. The consequences of Joseph's brothers keeping their actions a secret underscore the significance of open communication within families. Secrecy can lead to emotional pain and fractured relationships. Parents are encouraged to create a space where teens or their children feel safe sharing their thoughts and experiences. So, does anybody want to get a little personal and share if one of these common household conflicts has affected them and their family personally? Have any of you guys dealt with maybe like a sibling rivalry or deception and broken trust in the family, or like secrets, family secrets or whatever affecting you in your life today? If you guys don't want to share that person, that's fine. But if you guys do, you can raise your hand. Go ahead, Marnie. Marnie, you muted.
So my bad. I have a biological sister. She's older than me. And I stay away. I don't really have a desire, because I've always known her to be envious. And she was born first. So we all had the same thing. Like my father, he got us every weekend. We didn't want for anything. She didn't want for anything. But in her mind, it still was never enough. My sister was very selfish. And even if she had a lot, she wanted more. You know what I mean? I want more. Even if what she had was a lot, a lot. And we all had a lot, but it just never was enough for her. And so we just could never really merge because she always felt like it was favoritism, and that's just kind of like how it is, you know. And so I haven't seen her in a long time. I've found her on Facebook, and like my father was asking, did I want to reach out? And I said I didn't, because I don't know you. I mean, I know you as to be this type of person, and I just believe that um, my father has always taught me just about titles. Don't get fooled by titles, because it's not the fact that you're my biological sister. It's the character that you possess. It's how you are as a person. And you being my sister is not good enough for me to open my space and allow harm to come towards, you know, myself and my family. So I just stay away.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like you want to love your family or pour into them, but like you said, sometimes you do definitely have to know when to walk away. So I definitely get that. All right, does anybody else want to share before we continue? I'm not gonna lie, these slides or this presentation specifically is very conversation based. Like I have a lot of questions in here because we did a lot of reading and stuff in the previous one, so I wanted to open this up to more discussion. Y'all ain't really talking, which is fine, I guess. But I just want to let y'all know I do have more questions on this slide, so be ready or not. I don't know. All right, I guess we can continue, but the next slide is just some more questions. So somebody be ready to talk, other than the same people. Okay, so do you guys? Well, I think somebody kind of touched on this as well. Do you guys think the way that you are raised affect the way you raise your kids? And how has your upbringing or your parents' trauma affected your parenting? And how has generational trauma affected the relationship between you and your parent/child? So, whatever way that last question fits into your life, you can answer it. So, if you're younger, you can say, how has generational trauma affected the relationship between you and your parent? Even if you, I mean, everybody got parents on here, so anybody can really answer that question. And then if you have kids, of course, how has generational trauma affected the relationship between you and your kids? Anybody wants to take a stab at it? Go ahead, Mom.
I'll briefly touch on it while everybody else get their thoughts together because I know somebody else want to speak.
Right.
So I would say to think that the way you were raised does not affect your kids is, of course, obvious. You first of all, you can't teach what you don't know. So a lot of times, even whether you agree with the way you were raised or not, you end up teaching that to your kids through just actions and habits. So clearly, if that upbringing included any kind of trauma or anything like that, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be passed down. Most of us don't go and get the help that we need to heal from those traumas so that we don't pass them down. But me personally, I would say generational trauma has affected my relationship with my kids in the sense of me putting in more effort and work to not repeat certain things. Just basically doing the work spiritually, mentally, and emotionally to just be better than the previous generations before, to be intentional and conscious about the habits and the things that, you know, I passed down, and just not being afraid to stand up and do something different to get a different outcome from for future generations.
Go ahead, Devon.
I say yeah, the way your people's raised different kids, cause in a different aspect, like say if a man was raised like in a sense to where his dad ain't really, you feel me? He ain't do what he was supposed to do, so he grow up making sure his son gotta like do everything for himself. So then when that dad get older, you feel me? He may have a son, and now even though that dad did better than the past dad, he don't do as much for his son as he should because the dad before him, you feel me, put a mindset on him like, yeah, you gotta handle this or you gotta handle that. You feel me? Because I feel like at a young age that got put on me. Like my pops instilled it to me that he really wasn't gonna do too much more than what, you feel me, my OG get from child support or what she a beg for. But yeah, that's my point.
So, do you think how you were raised is, well, how has the way you've been raised, how would that affect your kids or the way you raise your kids? What would you do differently? I think that's one of our questions.
I probably really just make sure that I got my kids to a certain age to where they understand that it's time for them to, you feel me, do on their own or go fend for themselves. I never put it on my son to feel like, you feel me, at 17, 18, when he in college or whatever the case may be, that he gotta, excuse me, I never put it on my son to make it feel like he gotta, you feel me, do a lot, go out here and hustle, you feel me, even though I'm out here working and, you feel me, putting money in my pocket, I wouldn't put it on my son as quickly as other fathers do. That'll make their kids get out here and, you feel me, sell drugs or do anything else that's extra to get some money. You feel me?
Yeah. All right. So I really wanted to ask those sets of questions first because I wanted that to kind of stir up not just emotion, but make you guys kind of think like, what is something that I'm bearing inside? What is something that I'm holding on to that my parent might have done, or my parents' parents, or anything like that, or even when it comes to the conflicts in the household. I wanted you guys to think about that, even if you guys didn't share personally, but that one of those might affect you. So I want you guys to think about that as we get into the theme of forgiveness. Um, a lot of family beef begins with responsibility and accountability. The downside is the beef lingers due to unforgiveness. This is where the foundational belief comes into play. God is so loyal to us that he extends grace, which is undeserved kindness, to us so that we can have a relationship with him. He talks about that in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 9. Since the beginning of time, God has done what the Apostle Paul described in Colossians 3:13 when he says, "Make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others." Forgiving others is essential for our well-being and fostering healthy relationships. It contrasts holding on to grudges or resentment. Holding on to grudges or resentment can lead to emotional turmoil, bitterness, and relational strife. Forgiveness liberates us from anger and resentment, allowing us to experience inner peace and emotional healing. It doesn't mean we condone or excuse harmful behavior. Instead, we are choosing to release the negative emotions tied to the offense. That's how we reconcile our differences, even when we feel wronged. This involves actively working together to restore trust, understanding, and harmony. It requires us to be open to receiving feedback and transparent with our thoughts and emotions. That means that at some point We have to acknowledge our mistakes, offer genuine apologies, and commit to making positive changes. By embracing forgiveness, we promote empathy, compassion, and unity, building more resilient relationships built on trust and mutual respect. We can do it if we choose to work towards that common goal as a team. Are you ready to build a functional family? All right. So, although we talked about a lot of issues and we had some deep conversation, it's always important to forgive, not so much for the other person, but for yourself. And also, we did talk about previously before that forgiveness doesn't also always mean to reconcile. So, that's something to think about as well. You just kind of have to have discernment to know where to move in certain situations or with certain relationships. All right, so last we have like two more slides. These are the last questions. I know y'all probably tired of me asking y'all questions. Um, so for the parents in here, what is something that you want your child, or even we can say the younger people in here as well, when you do have a child? So, what is something you want your child to be able to take away from your parenting? Even if you don't have kids, you can still answer that question for your future kids. What is something you want to do differently for your children? Because, well, we kind of touched on that, not gonna lie. Because of your upbringing, and what is something that you can work on as a parent or a child? Go ahead, Dakara. And Devon, you still got your hand up from the last time, or you want to say something else?
So, regarding, oh my gosh, hold on. Sorry.
It's okay.
Regarding the first question, something that I want I'm sorry, I'm walking and reading it at the same time.
It's okay.
Something that I want my child to take away from my parenting is like respect as well as self love. I feel like both of those things could like bring a child up to be like the best person that they can be, making sure that they respect themselves and others, and also making sure that they're showing themselves love so they can also kind of in a way do the same for others is important. And then the second question, something that I want to do differently for my child because of my upbringing, is simply make sure that they have um, a good father in their lives. That's something that, like, because I have a great mom, but me and my dad don't have the best relationship. It's not like I don't know him. It's not like he's a deadbeat. It's just a lot of things that he slacks on that then later on made me have issues in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that at all for my kids. So making sure I'm intentional with like what I'm doing and who the father of my kids will be is very important to me. And something that I can work on as a child is pretty much the last slide, which is forgiveness. I've been like hearing that word a lot lately because people do me so bogus. Like people be doing me wrong, and I kind of don't like to forgive because I feel like, if you do this one time, you will do it again. Or why would you even do that in the first place when I'm such a nice person? So I feel like um kind of having more forgiveness for people is something that I want to work on as a child, because more so I want to try to forgive my father. As hard as it is, I want to try to like, yes, literally, but as hard as it is, I do want to forgive him because as the slide said, like, God forgives us. And so yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing, girl. Anybody else want to take a stab at it before we continue? Go ahead, Mom.
I would say a takeaway would be I want my children to be much better than I could ever be. I feel like as a parent, one of your God given duties was to make sure that your children and your next generation is better off than yours or the previous one. So I want a takeaway would definitely be to make sure I'm instilling the proper tools in every way to make them better than me, better than my generation, better than the previous generation. Um, and I mean, that just goes into me trying to do things differently. What I'm doing differently in particular is just basically starting off, pouring into them, educating them. I'm saying them like you're not on the call, but you know what I mean. Just pouring and educating early at an early age. I think that a lot of us get out here as adults and it's trial and error, and we're learning as we go, and we're learning from mistakes. Granted, you'll have to make your own mistakes, and you have to make your own decisions. But when you're better prepared in advance, it helps you make more informed decisions and better choices. So what I'm doing differently is starting earlier, starting at a younger age, with finances, with credit, with just everything, being more hands-on, spending more quality time, and just building our whole family structure different. Some things that I can work on, I would just say briefly, patience, and leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I just want to say real quick, I always like to give my mom her flowers whenever I can. Um, if y'all know me, y'all know I love my mom. Like, she is just so amazing, and everything she's saying on this call is true. Like, she really does try really hard to pour into us, which can be hard because um, I feel like not a lot of people pour into her. So that's also why I try to be more vocal and to just tell her these things, because it's hard to like watch. Well, I don't want to get too personal, too deep, but like I've just kind of seen her do it all on her own, pretty much. And this kind of even goes back to the structure of a household. Like, I've had like my dad, like Dakar was saying, I have my dad in my life, but my mom has always been like my rock, the strong. Like, I've seen her do everything, even the things that a quote unquote man is supposed to do or take care of. I've seen my mom do it. So it's just like she just has so much respect for me, and she's had it since I was like a kid, because I've just always watched her, and she's always been an amazing role model. So I really do appreciate you, mom. So I did want to say that while we were on the call, because you're doing great, and she just setting us up. And I know it's hard because we have to pretty much do it on our own. Like, we've been doing all of this on our own for years, so of course that makes the journey harder and longer. But since we do have each other, we have that togetherness and that community, even if it is just us two. But since y'all are all on here now, I feel like we are able to kind of grow our community as well. So I do love that, and yes, shout out to you, girl. You're amazing. Um, something, I don't know which question I want to answer. I want to say something that I could work on is being more patient as well. I get that from her probably. Being more patient, not being so defensive. I think I'm also a defensive person as well. Not being so defensive or taking everything personally. So I just want to kind of calm down with that. And also, since my younger sister is so much younger than me, I feel like I'm kind of practicing now with her, low key. Like, I'm trying to practice now so that I know when I have kids, like, I'm kind of ridding those negative habits, So like I can be like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Not calm, but I guess patient is the best word to use. Like, more patient with her, with younger people, with kids in general, because kids be getting on my nerves. So that's something I got to work on. My patience, being understanding to other people, and trying to see both sides and not taking everything too personal. So that's something I definitely want to work on as a child and a parent. Um, and yes, pretty much everything that me and my mom kind of been saying, I want that. Like, I want my kids to feel the way about me how I feel about my mom. So I want my kids to be able to take away those things. I want to be able to raise them up right, and to like for them to take on certain values or morals and feel loved and understood and appreciated, and that they can always talk to me about anything. So that's what I want my children to take away. from my parenting when I had kids. All right, so it's time to wrap up. It's almost time to go. I have a little task for y'all to do. So screenshot this, do whatever you gotta do, write it down. But I want you guys, I really want y'all to do this, not just read it. I want y'all to write a letter or send a text message to your parent or your child. Now, if you have kids, you can do this for your parent and your kids. And if you don't have kids, you can just do this for your parent. Telling them something that you always wanted to tell them, or anything that you think they should know, whether it's good or bad. I want y'all to kind of just pour y'all heart out to them and release those emotions, whether they're positive emotions or negative emotions. If they're negative emotions, let's do it respectfully. Okay, we don't want to start any arguments. But this is really more so for you and for them, because if it's good, like, they might really need to hear that. So I think that y'all should do this. If y'all do it, text me, let me know. But definitely write a letter or send a text message to them, telling them something you always wanted to tell them. You can be thanking them, whatever the case may be. All right, prayer. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the love and support you've given each of us through our family. Thank you for giving us the ability and willingness to work together and achieve a common goal. Please help us apply what we've learned and revisit the conversation as often as possible. Ultimately, help us to love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other from here on out. Thank you for our wonderful family. Amen. So I think the key takeaways we can talk about is, of course, togetherness, setting ourselves up so that we can be able to set up and provide a healthy home for our children and our family, not just financially but emotionally as well. Be able to have these type of conversations and things like that. So just creating an open space for your family, pretty much. So I think a good start would be the letter, to again start the conversation, kick it off, and then see what happens from there. But we also know that we are going to need a lot of forgiveness during this time, which is for us internally, not just for the other person. So thank you guys for joining.